Hi guys. I guess it goes without saying that despite sharing a common home called planet Earth, people's lifestyles differ greatly in each corner of the world. Someone complains about their tiny 200 square meter house, while someone else simply doesn't have a roof over their head or any food on the table, and doesn't even dream of such luxuries like the electricity and the internet. Some simply put up with their fate and choose to complain about life rather than do something about it, while others never cease trying to change their lives for the better. Today I'd like to tell you about an ordinary young man who decided to change the fate of an entire village, and it is thanks to his efforts that he managed to become famous all over the world. But first things first. William Kamkwamba was born in the small village of Wimbe in Malawi, where most people are illiterate. But even in spite of poverty and other issues, the young man loved to study, and he even finished primary school at the age of 12. He had plans to proceed with his education in high school, but unfortunately, in his country, that meant paying a tuition fee of $100 per year. While it doesn't seem like a big deal to most people, it's a huge amount for a Malawian villager and his family, which was struggling financially as it was. At that time, the eldest daughter in the family was already in high school. Besides, the family also had 7 younger children. The Kamkwamba family probably could have saved up the necessary amount, but unfortunately, life had other plans. The year William was due to go to high school was harsh in terms of the climate. The dry summer burnt out most of the crops of the family's field, and they didn't even have enough money to pay for food, let alone studies. In fact, all local residents were suffering from similar problems. The famine hit the whole village. The children only had 1 corn cake a day, while the parents ate 1 every other day. Realizing that there was no chance to resume his studies in the near future, the boy wandered around the streets for days. He got especially interested in the wind generator that served the local supermarket. By the way, this supermarket was the only building in the village that had electricity. As William himself later said, "I was tired of aimlessly wandering the streets. I don't know where these thoughts were coming from, but while most of my peers were smoking and having stupid conversations about nothing, I was dreaming of a better life. And after a while, I decided that if there was no chance for me to study at school, then I'd get knowledge myself." Fortunately for him, the village library was available to everyone, completely free of charge. And even though many books were already over 50 years old, William wasn't the least bit upset about it, and so he began to study science all day long. His days began and ended at the library. Of course, other boys started laughing at him over time. He wasn't like everyone else, and as you know, those who stand out from the rest are rarely liked. The boy was very hurt, but he tried not to pay attention to them and just kept reading more books. It's also worth mentioning that he was actually very successful in his studies. The only thing that bothered William was the lack of light. Since Malawi is located just below the equator, it got dark at 6 p.m. That's why William couldn't devote as much time to his studies as he would have liked to. And the story of this African boy could have probably remained unknown to the world if it wasn't for what happened one day. Looking through the books in the library, William came across an item related to electrical engineering. He opened it and couldn't believe his eyes. The page had a drawing of a wind generator, the same kind at the local supermarket, and then he realized that the huge strange thing wasn't all that complicated. From that very day, the semi-literate young man managed not only to understand all the subtleties of Faraday's law and Foucault's currents, but much more. William started working on a makeshift windmill. The pictures helped him understand what to do and how to do it, but finding the parts was the greatest challenge. However, it didn't stop William. He started looking for spare parts from a wind turbine at the local landfill, which only further undermined his reputation. Now, not only his peers, but also the adults were laughing at William, seeing him digging around in the landfill. He couldn't always find what he needed at the dump. However, he did manage to collect all the parts he needed over time. For example, he used an old bicycle as the basis for a windmill, made blades out of plastic pipes and bamboo sticks, and assembled the mast from old boards. He set up his workplace behind his old house and spent several months building something there, all day long. His hard work and persistence paid off. The wind turbine was ready. William checked all the mountings and decided it was time to try out his windmill. Many people came to the Kamkwamba house that day. Everyone wanted to get a glimpse of the strange construction. The locals didn't take the man's work seriously. They were still laughing at him and pointing their fingers, even calling him the village idiot. But of course, they wouldn't miss out on such an amusing event. with the madman playing the main part. It was getting dark outside. However, when the right moment came, the teenager started his mechanism, and everyone's mouths popped open. A bright light flashed in the house of Kamkwamba. Both the boy's family and all those who came to mock the poor boy were stunned. People didn't understand how electricity could appear out of nowhere. That moment changed everyone's attitudes towards the young man. From that evening on, people started gathering near the Kamkwamba house every evening. The story could have ended there, and the boy would have remained in his native village, happy with his invention. However, 2 weeks later, the young African inventor's fame reached the capital of Malawi. Journalists came to see him and filmed a short story about the talented boy, which changed his whole life. By the will of fate, Emeka Okafor, the Nigerian director of the TED Global program, saw this video. The news of a semi-literate boy from a poor village who created a makeshift wind generator simply stunned him. I never doubted the talent of that young man for a minute, so I decided to help him. Emeka came to the village to see the self-taught inventor and offered the boy to participate in the international conference as a fellow of his corporation. The conference went off with a bang, and William's phrase, "I have tried and I have succeeded," even went down in history and became very famous in his country. But that wasn't the end. It was at this conference that the boy received a grant to study at the capital's private school, and then even at the African Leadership Academy in Johannesburg. He was on cloud nine, having received the chance to study at such prestigious institutions for free. And so, he got completely immersed in his studies. Everyone was surprised at how he was able to combine attending lectures and seminars with designing and inventing. Somehow, it was all very easy for him. After just 1 year, the young man decided to improve his first invention. And so, he created another wind generator after a few months' work. The new model's characteristics even surpassed the industrial wind turbines of the Eskom Corporation. It made it possible to provide electricity to not only one house, but to several houses at once. William decided to try out the new invention in his home. Together with his father, they drilled an artesian well and installed a pump delivering water to the family's fields. The construction worked like a clock. Every day, residents of the Wimbe village lined up in front of the Kamkwamba house for water because the nearest source was a 45-minute walk from the village. That's how the local idiot became a real hero for the village. However, William wasn't going to stop at that. He wanted to learn more and more. After graduating from Dartmouth College, the young man led a group of students at the African Leadership Academy. They studied solar cell technology. In the meantime, he worked on the creation of an automatic switch, which is now displayed at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. Despite the fact that William has already achieved a lot, he is constantly improving. Although the young man has left his native village, he treats the place he was born with special warmth and implements most of his inventions in the lives of the local residents. The house roofs that used to be covered with reeds are now equipped with modern solar panels. With the help of wind turbines and a dozen artesian wells, full-fledged irrigation systems have been created, and the farmers of the most poor village now harvest the crops twice a year. Thanks to William's talent, the locals have long forgotten about poverty and hunger. This self-taught villager has already managed to achieve so much in his life that even a book has been written about him. It is called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Despite all the challenges, thanks to his perseverance and zeal for knowledge, William managed not only to break the cycle of poverty and become famous all over the world, but to also radically change the lives of thousands of people in his native village. And he did it all in spite of the fact that they used to make fun of him. That's the whole story, friends. Once again, it proves that where there's a will, there's a way. That's it for today. Be sure to let us know what you think about this story in the comments. Rate this video and see you soon. Bye. See you soon.